So it seems that the Michael Edwards 2.0 era is underway as Liverpool went in for Newcastle United and England winger Anthony Gordon this week. Now, there were lots of rumours circulating that Liverpool's offer was too low, and in turn, Newcastle favoured a cash plus Jarrell Quansah deal, which is not even going to be a consideration for the Reds. Admiration and expectation for Quansah is high at Anfield, and while there might be room for a cash plus player deal, the young England centre-back is not going to be an option, especially considering that Liverpool will most likely be looking to bolster their defensive options too. Now, Gordon is a player who plays predominantly as a right-footed left winger, which is a position that Liverpool aren't exactly crying out for. Darwin Nunez, Diaz, Cody Gakpo and Diogo Jota are 4 senior internationals who also play in that position. So it's clear that the Reds hierarchy consider Gordon an upgrade on those players. Now, Jota, Nunez and Gakpo all play in different roles too. Obviously, Nunez through the middle, Jota anywhere across the front three, and Gakpo across the front three as a false 9 and also deeper in midfield. It's Diaz, notwithstanding a couple of Liverpool games out wide right, who is primarily tied to the left side of the pitch and probably the most likely of those players to be moved on should Liverpool manage to acquire Gordon. So let's take a look at how the two players compare with each other and if Anthony Gordon really would be an upgrade on Luis Diaz. So, concentrating on what those players did in the Premier League last season, in terms of games played, they were fairly close, with 35 games for Gordon and 37 for Diaz. That worked out to 34 starts for Gordon and 32 Diaz. So quite close and a decent return for them both. Now, the most basic metrics people judge forwards by is goals and assists. I don't think that paints the fullest picture of a forward's contribution, but Gordon is out front with 11 goals and 10 assists in the Premier League, with Diaz registering 8 goals and 5 assists last season. Part of Liverpool's problems last season revolved not around being able to carve out chances, but to convert them, especially in high-profile games. This is reflected in Diaz's conversion rate, as his non-penalty XG was 11.9, with Gordon faring much better at 9.4. In simplest terms, when it came to scoring goals, Gordon overperformed and Diaz underperformed. Now, of course, a function of both players is to get the ball up the pitch. And when it comes to this, Diaz actually fares pretty well. He gets more touches per 90 and considerably more touches in the opposition's penalty area. When it comes to carrying the ball, he also leads the way, dominating the total carries, the total distance, the progressive distance, and the carries into the final third. Now, this surprised me, as I always thought Gordon was a cleaner runner, but it could be that he just uses the ball in a more effective and economical manner. This might be backed up by the stats, which show that Diaz is dispossessed more and has more miscontrols. Fans of Diaz might be encouraged that he also has better numbers when it comes to take-ons, attempting 4.70 per 90 minutes against Gordon's 4.14. Diaz also has a better success rate at 49.9% compared to Gordon of 40.6%. Now, again, this might not paint the cleanest picture of what is the most effective for their team, as part of the criticism laid at Diaz last term was that for all the skill and ability on the ball, there wasn't enough end product. The question is, can a new environment with a different manager and possibly a different way of playing improve this? Or at 27, is Diaz the player he's always going to be? Personally, I think this age is ideal for a really good place to step up a level. We saw it at both Mo Salah and Sadio Mane at this age, along with Jordan Henderson, who continued to evolve and improve as a player into his late 20s. Now, a big part of Jurgen Klopp's approach to football is also a big part of Arne Slot's, that of gegenpressing and winning the ball back quickly in dangerous areas, which means everyone, including the forwards, must be ready to pitch in with the more defensive aspects of the game. When it comes to tackles, blocks and interceptions, it's a mixed bag. Gordon had more tackles, winning 62% of his 55 tackles per 90, whereas Diaz attempted less, but had a higher win percentage, winning 71% of his 25 tackles. Now, for the most part, the stats are fairly interchangeable, with Diaz just edging it in terms of touches per 90. But if you take a look at the heat maps of both players, it can give an idea of how different they are, with Diaz clearly being a player that does most of his work in the final third on the left, with Gordon being slightly more fluid. Now, this might be down to them having different functions for their respective teams, with Newcastle having a difficult time last season. It's possible that Anthony Gordon will be tempted to take responsibility and get about in those other areas of the pitch. Now, this isn't something I would expect him to do at Liverpool. Instead, he will be asked to cause problems with his direct running and aggression with and without the ball in the opposition half. Now, although it seems that Newcastle's initial keenness to do a deal revolved around the impending profit and sustainability rules deadline, this does not mean that a deal is impossible if Newcastle raises the funds elsewhere. It might raise eyebrows with Gordon that the club were prepared to do business, and the Kirkdale-born youngster as previous when showing ambition. He submitted a formal transfer request to Everton and was absent from training at Finch Farm in the lead up to his move to the northeast. Personally, I think Liverpool need to try something different with the front three this season, as it just didn't work last year. Although there's more options up front, it was never quite clear which was the most effective front three. It seems like Liverpool will stick with Darwin Nunez up top and will be encouraged by his positive goal return at the Copa America. Cody Gakpo's adaptability and intelligence, Mo Salah's stature and Diogo Jota's status as the best natural finisher at the club should ensure that they're all part of the squad, but it's Diaz who seems the most likely to move on. Now, I like Diaz a lot, but when Nunez misfires, there needs to be more other reliable goal-scoring and creating options up top. It also doesn't hurt that he seems to be coveted by Barcelona, and I'd suggest that if Edwards and Co can structure a positive deal for Diaz, and their form suggests that they can, then that might cover the majority of a potential free for Gordon. Now, if Gordon can smell a move to the club he supported as a kid, and a definite move up the Premier League food chain, expect this rumour to drag on towards the end of the transfer window if profit and sustainability rules don't push the deal on even quicker.